Okay, we are back. We um we were supposed to have a special guest again. Sean, who joined us last time, was supposed to come, but had some family affairs to attend to. So keep him in our prayers, and is always welcome back. He'll be back on soon. Um, how you been this week, Frank? No, it just
This
started,
has
but
been a good week so far.
mm-hmm,
First of all, big up to our brother Sean. And I guess when he comes back, he'll have a special announcement. We'll let him make the special announcement when he comes back. Happy Election Day to a
mm-hmm,
lot of people. That in and of itself has become a controversial issue. And today's show is not about that. I just say that I always think about Mega Evers. And if you don't know who Mega Evers is in our audience, look him up. Medgar Evers. They shot him down like a dog in his driveway. And he spent his life fighting for people, particularly disenfranchised people, to have the right to vote. Because the right to vote wasn't guaranteed to everybody in this country once upon a time. So there were people who sacrificed everything so we can have the right to vote. So, you know, everybody has their right to their opinion about whether it's necessary or not, and that's all fine. I just say that you might want to get some more information, at least about the process before you dismiss it when you consider what people sacrifice so you can have that right. Because it's easy to sacrifice something that you have, and then when it goes away, then people fight like hell to try to get it back. And it happens all the time. You take your mate for granted,
mm-hmm.
and then you come home and everything that belonged to that person is gone. And then you realize, like, wow, maybe I was taking this person for granted.
Don't want to take
And then
anything for granted.
sometimes you might say, good riddance. I'm glad you took your stuff and went. So it can go both ways, right?
Mm, indeed.
Yeah.
So
So I think you got something you want to talk about today, Dre. So I'm gonna let you introduce the topic.
yeah, today I wanted to talk about kind of eating better and spending smarter. So I forgot what I was doing, but it just kind of I was just thinking one day, and I was like, sugar and debt are very similar. I might have been watching something on YouTube, but yeah, that just whole concept had struck me, and so I was doing some work with my personal finances and stuff, and I was just like, man, it's real easy to accumulate debt, and it's very hard to get rid of it, and it's the same thing when with fat, sugar in your body and stuff. So I was thinking today we could kind of have a discussion about that. I think a lot of it ties into a lot of what we talk about on this channel. So yeah, I think first thing I wanted to talk about was short term gratification versus long term rewards. So we're pretty much know that when we have sweet food. And real quick, I did want to have a disclaimer before we started this whole thing. You know, me personally, I'm not following all of these. I'm striving to do this, so it's not. I'm doing all of this, and so you should too. We're just having this discussion in terms of, this is, the direction we should be heading. So and it's okay if you're not doing all of them. We're just having this conversation to draw awareness to it, not to necessarily chastise anybody or tell you how to live your life. We're just gonna make some simple comparisons, and if you take something out of it, then that's great. Um, So I know I put in the group chat kind of an outline of what I wanted to talk about. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of start with uh, with that. So I guess I'll ask you, what do you have like your own personal comfort food that you typically go to?
But the people who know me, and and let me concur with your disclaimer statement. We're just here to provide enlightenment, education, information, and so hopefully we say some things that will cause people to think and maybe change in some areas. I'm I learn something new every day.
Hmm.
So the wonderful thing that I've discovered about life is that it's a journey, and I have not perfected it, and I'm not trying to perfect it because once I perfected it, then that means it's time for me to bang out.
Right.
I've done everything I can do down here. I'm gonna bang out. So you see me here, that means I'm still working on some stuff.
Likewise.
So my comfort food. So I'm a notorious snacker.
Hmm.
So I'm that person that will eat my meal. I try to eat my meal early enough so that I can dive into whatever that snack is. Now, unlike some people, and I'm not judging anybody, but my snack is not a half a gallon of Haagen-Dazs.
Mm.
Now, I'm saying that as somebody when I was in college, and I'll admitting this, when I was in college, sometimes I would have a couple of pints of Ben and Jerry's, and not the name drop, but it just happened to be the brand.
Hmm.
So I just okay, you got that. But I go ahead and mention their brand because it's uh, it's something that was delectable for me at the time, and it also wasn't a healthy choice for dinner.
Hmm.
So I've graduated from those days, and I can't say that I have one particular thing. I have a few different kind of comfort foods. Like most people know the puppet Cookie Monster.
Hmm.
Growing up, I had that was one of my monikers because again graduated. I used to at around 11:30, going on midnight. I would sit down with and they still have them in the store, even though I don't buy them. The packs of cookies where you might have 4 rows,
Hmm.
a whole four. So I would pour a glass of milk, and I just go through all 4 rows.
That's great. Cookies are my weakness too. That's my that's my comfort food too. So I can't even blame you. I'm more of a I like cookie dough though, so that's the unique thing about me. Even before they were saying it was safe to eat, I was eating. That was just always my my thing. I'm eating cookie dough. It don't have to be cooked or nothing. I'm just like, I just want the chocolate. Yeah, that's my comfort food to this day, still pretty much. So
So you were there before it became a thing. You were already doing it before it
hmm.
became.
Yeah, nah. I think they put the rule in place because of me because I was always it used to say do not eat raw. I was like, nah, that's too good. So yeah, cookie dough has been always been my comfort food. I'm really not too big into sweets personally. Outside of that, I drink and chocolate milk. So that's my morning. I have that, and then at night I have cookies or cookie dough. So that's
Man,
my
you got to put the chocolate milk with the cookies. That
Nah,
sounds like
that's
a
too
wonderful
that's too
explosion.
much. Mm-mm, mm-mm. See, I keep them separate. That's the that's a healthy step for me. Keeping them separate. So that's a little bit too much chocolate. But yeah, outside of that though, I don't eat chocolate by itself or anything. Like, I don't like chocolate cake, brownies, and all of that's too much chocolate for me. But in a cookie or in some chocolate milk, that's the perfect amount of chocolate for me. So I think that's kind of more what saves me since I don't eat a variety of sweets. I'm not really big on candy, cake, or anything like that. So I feel like that's kind of how I can get away with eating with my cookie dough addiction and cookie addiction. So, but I wanted to. So our comfort foods, I think when it comes to comfort foods, and then we also a lot of people's comfort food falls into their comfort spending as well. Because if we're taking it off as sweets, if we want to talk about fast food, fast food is something that McDonald's used to be, kids used to always want McDonald's when you pass it because it just, not even necessarily because of the taste. You wanted a toy, you wanted just the thought of having a Happy Meal or just the thought of having McDonald's was more than the actual food was. So I think a lot of people now are accustomed to now that they have I know I've heard that like especially in college people be like now I have McDonald's money so I'm gonna go buy McDonald's and I think that has kind of created a little bit of an illusion amongst people in my generation that just because it's $5 you think that you can afford it, but there's a lot of times when it's not to say that you can't afford a $5 meal, but it's just like the value that you get out of that $5 meal, which no meals are $5 anymore. They're pretty much you're not as an adult, you're not getting anything under $10. So, but we have to look at what that $10 could buy us at the grocery store in comparison to what it will get us immediately from McDonald's or Chick-fil-A. And I think that's a place to start when it comes to not only dieting, budgeting our money, but also like paying attention to our diet and what we're putting into our bodies. And that's gonna be most of the comparisons that we're gonna be trying to make this episode. So
So I do want to mention this because people who've been with us before may know that actually in the area of finances, this is an area where I do have expertise. I've coached hundreds of people. I'm an MBA, so I do know some things about this. So I'm not coming at it sideways, even though we're just having a conversation. And it's kind of funny how you chose these two topics, Dre, because I don't know that you knew this, but I also work in the health advocacy space. So I've helped people lose a lot of weight. I think the highest was I helped somebody lose over 100 pounds.
mm,
So I also know some things in this particular space and help people in this particular space also.
okay,
What I would say, and I don't know if this is the direction you were going to go, but I think when we talk about the marriage between spending and eating, because the two of them they often they often collide.
mm-hmm.
The reason why they collide so much is because we know that we have to eat something in order to sustain ourselves. So it's not something that we can just put off.
Mm-hmm.
But then the question becomes, what is it that we eat? And it's a good thing that you started off talking about comfort food because some of the things that we intake for comfort may not actually be food.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we may be ingesting it, but it may not be suitable to provide us with any energy. It it may just be providing us temporary comfort at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think whether we're talking about finances or we're talking about health, there's another word that I definitely want to interject, which came up in a previous conversation around finances that we've had. And for those people who go to We the Source, Dre's website, you can go and check out previous episodes. We've done about 5 shows, at least 5 shows that dealt with finances,
Hmm.
and at least on a couple of those shows, we drilled down on habits
Hmm.
because ultimately it boils down to habits. And I'm just going to say that if a couple is going out for their anniversary and they're going to indulge that one night, I, the way I practice, I don't think that you treating yourself for one night is a deal breaker. Now, for some people, it could be a deal breaker because for those people who watched the show last week, we know that Sean said that he had to bang out. He was a secular DJ, and he couldn't he couldn't continue to deal with the secular at all.
Hmm.
So there's some people when they cut it loose, whatever that thing is that they cut loose, they can't return to it. I get that, but I think for most people, when it comes to comfort food, if they're able to indulge with discipline, then it can work. I think what happens is when the discipline goes away, that's where the problem comes in. But I'll let you interject, Dre.
Now you took it exactly where I was planning. We're talking about habits, habits and discipline. Um, I was gonna ask, since you're in, what would you say is a, since you're in both health and finances, what would you say one of the habit indicator would be that is, let's do one that's bad and one that's a negative one and a positive one.
Which arena? Are you talking about food or are you talking about finances?
A habit that can affect either one, or like if you saw any ones that like a similar habit that may, like we were saying, going purchasing fast food is kind of a habit that would go against both. So you know you're spending unnecessary money and you're not eating the healthiest that you could. So
So I was in a session about 8 months ago,
mhm.
and a guy he's a medical doctor, he's an actual expert, and he just came for our juggler. He said that when you drink soda, it's like just pouring cups and cups of sugar into your body.
Mm.
So going back to what you were saying earlier about sugar, I would have to say that one of the most detrimental things that Americans do is have a carbonated beverage with at least two of their meals out of the day. Now, often people don't have a carbonated beverage for breakfast,
Mhm.
but then they'll have a so-called breakfast drink that is laden with sugar. So on one side, I would say bad would be overdosing on sodas. I'm going to pick on sodas.
Okay.
On the good side would be replacing. So if you're one of those people that have to have a carbonated drink or something laden with sugar with every meal, you could start by replacing those drinks at one meal with water. So let's say that you always have a carbonated drink with lunch. You can start your change by replacing that carbonated drink you normally have for lunch and have water. So now instead of having sugar with your beverage, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, now you cut it down to two meals.
Mm-hmm.
Because okay, let me just jump out there and then I'm gonna back up because like I always say, on these two topics, I could talk for hours and hours,
You
and,
want?
you would not want to leave. I'm locked and loaded.
Mm,
So I'm going to also say that sugar, the kind of sugar that we have in a lot of our sweet treats, is one of the leading causes for hypertension, diabetes, cancer, the big three. So if you want to cut down on the potential of those three, hypertension, diabetes, cancer, then one way would be to cut down on your sugar intake. Sugar is the enemy.
mm. Yeah, I may have to share some documentaries I saw about sugar. That, as someone who loves sugar personally, it did have me considering. I'm like, okay, maybe I do need to put it down, but it didn't. Like I said, I'm a work in progress. I will get. I'll try to
Me
get there,
too.
but sugar
I
is a
told you.
drug. Sugar is a
Hey,
drug.
I told you. I used to eat a whole pack of cookies in one sitting. Couple of pints of Ben and Jerry's. I was a sugar addict.
Mm.
I'm a recovering sugar addict.
Yeah, and it's really, I don't think, because I tried to cut sugar out of my diet completely, and I really was. I think I even just toned it down. I don't even think I was trying to get it completely out of my diet, but I had really noticed the difference in just cutting out a couple of sweet treats that I would typically have. So soda was definitely one of the big things that I stopped getting, because I used to, buy a couple of cans or buy a bottle, and just have a little bit of that. So, but yeah, once I stopped purchasing that, that also comes with sodas come with fast food meals as well. So you getting, that's why fast food and is just all together. I think that's one of the biggest bad habits that we have. And once again, not against anybody going to, getting some Chick-fil-A here and there, but on a daily basis, it's just, you got to think about all the sodium you're getting, all of the sugar you're getting, so, and how much you're spending. If you're getting that multiple times a week, just how much money that is when you add it all up at the. I remember that was really how I stopped eating fast food, as I started looking at my bank statements, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm spending almost $100 on fast food throughout the month. So it's just like, and all of those are meals that I would then have to. I was still getting groceries, so that's just a whole extra $100 I'm just throwing away. So if you do have, if you feel that you struggle going to fast food places, just look at your bank statements, add up how much money you've spent over the past month, and then ask yourself if it's worth it.
I've
Um,
got a question for you, Dre,
mhm,
because I know that you've done some traveling. When you talk about fast food and you think about some of the other countries that you've been to,
mhm,
of course, here in the United States, especially in certain neighborhoods, you can barely turn the corner without running into a fast food establishment. And I don't want to call names and give all of them free advertisement.
mhm.
Um, but when you compare the proliferation of fast food establishments here in the United States with what you might see in a foreign country, how do you compare?
Um, I think maybe I just noticed them out there because that was what my, attention is accustomed to in America. So I see a lot of fast food places across overseas. Well, I haven't been across the Atlantic, but just in South America, they have all the pretty much major places. I will say, when I went to Colombia though, the food that they have there, they have McDonald's there, but you can get like full chicken. It's still fried, but it's like you're not getting just chicken nuggets. So it was a little bit different in that. I think overall the quality did feel taste a little better. It was definitely a much fuller meal. I actually felt full after eating a McDonald's meal over there, same price through. So that was really just a big difference in that when it came to that. Um,
My experience has been that, and in talking to others from other countries, is that, and this is not a knock on on our country, it's just an observation.
mhm,
I think we have far more fast food establishments than most other nations. And particularly when you talk to people from the East, they're flabbergasted by how much fast food we have.
yeah,
In fact, because I know you work with a lot of people from the East, they don't darken the doors of fast food establishments nearly as much as we do because they believe in eating a certain way.
mm,
So, um, one culture in particular, they they're very frugal when it comes to how they handle their funds. And interestingly enough, they don't they don't they don't spend a lot of time in fast food establishments. They may go every once in a blue moon, and usually if they you find them there, it's because they part own the place,
right.
you know.
That's a big difference.
And I'm not being facetious. I'm being for real. I mean, there's certain fast food establishments. I'm name drop this one on purpose so people can investigate to see that I'm not just BSing. One of them is Dunkin' Donuts.
Mm,
So if you go and do your research on that particular establishment, you follow and you can do your research, you see that there's a particular ethnic group that predominate in that space. So obviously, you know, I often find myself in the tradition of Dr. King, trying to help us Black people do better. But obviously, this information can can suit anybody. You know,
for sure. Um, I was going to ask. Hold on, let me see. I had the actual notes here, and uh, dang, I it wasn't written down, but I had another thing that I wanted to bring up. We talked about comfort food, discipline. When it comes to finances, what is what is one of the bad habits that you what would be a bad habit, or actually what's a good habit to have in finances? Let's start there. Let's talk about some good stuff. What would be a financial?
so one of the things that I try to encourage people to do is have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people they get paid and they get paid and then they start paying for things randomly. There is no plan.
Mm-hmm.
So they get paid and they start paying for things, not necessarily in a particular order either as they come up.
Right.
And so for some people, because they don't have a plan, when it comes time to pay, for an example, the uh, the gas bill,
Mm-hmm.
because during the winter months, for those people who have gas heat, that expense gets a little higher during the winter months. So you might have been feeling like you were on a hiatus as far as your gas bill during the summertime. But then the winter time comes, and because there's no plan, this winter this gas bill has doubled from what it
Mm-hmm.
was during the summertime, rightfully so. And some people end up behind on their gas bill because they didn't make a plan for their gas bill to double during the wintertime. And one of my favorite ones to talk about, and of course this is a great time for you to have this show, Dre, because we're moving into the holiday season. So the man contrived Black Friday
Mm-hmm.
for Black folks, because I said this another time. I learned this from Dr. Claude Anderson. If I get a little piece not 100% right, then look Dr. Claude Anderson up, and he'll get you completely right.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he teaches it is that Black Friday was a mechanism that the former enslavers came up with to figure out how to get whatever little bit of money the free people had. I can't even keep a straight face just thinking about it. His people, they barely had anything, and they come up with this concept to put them back into debt and servitude. Because take the little bit of money they had, and I said this on another one of these, and I only learned this recently. This is horrible, and some people still don't bank with anyone because of some of the fear that was created back during the time of so-called Reconstruction.
Mm-hmm.
So when Black folks began banking in America, because the enslavers decided that we shouldn't be able to read and write. Many of them had heard that they should put their money in banks,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't understand that if they took the $200 that they saved to the bank, they needed a paper trail, they needed a bank account, they needed a way to record what they put into the bank so that they could prove that they actually put that into the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So these people were so wicked and grimy in the beginning of banking in this country that they would take the money of the ex-slaves and not give them any proof of
Deposit.
a deposit or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So their little bit of money that they had would just go. Because when they would come back to ask for it, they would the people at the bank would say, "Well, sir, we don't even have an account for you." It's just so going back to the whole thing about planning. When you go shopping for the contrived day, Black Friday, they even call it Black Friday. But anyway, specially designed for Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
Have you planned to spend that amount of money? And if you spend that amount of money getting uh, I don't know, 100 inch, I don't know what the biggest inch TV
Yeah,
there
100 inch
is, but
TV.
when you spend, when you spend, when you spend that amount of money to get the latest big screen TV to go in your dining room, did you plan for it? Or are you not going to have enough money to get to work for the next couple of weeks? And I've seen this. I've seen this in real time. I'm not just talking. I've seen people have that kind of challenge. I had a situation where my organization was offering people a match savings. Some
Mm-hmm.
people have heard of such things, where institution says, okay, to try to support your savings goal, the amount that you save, our organization is going to match it. So if you can save 500, we're going to match that five. One young lady. Now, in order to be matched, though, you had to reach a threshold.
Mm-hmm.
So if you only save $50, that wasn't enough for us to
Mm-hmm.
match. So you have to discipline yourself over a period of time to save a certain amount to be matched. Okay. So this one young lady was, doing her work to get her money up to the match point.
Mm-hmm.
And one of her favorite artists came into town. And instead of continuing to save to get that money doubled, she she took money out of her savings to go see this very popular artist, and then was looking for our organization to help her to meet a basic obligation. So make it make sense to me. You had the self same organization was willing to match you at double what you save.
Mm-hmm.
You pull money out of the savings to go see your favorite artist, but you really didn't have enough money to see said artist because you double back to said organization for help to pay an essential bill.
Poor planning. That's that's the definition of it. But like what you said when it came to budgeting as well, it's well the plan is a budget, but I thought I was gonna say you can do the same thing when it comes to your food as well. Like you can count people count calories the same way. Like you can if you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, you have to be mindful of the amount of calories that you're taking in. And a lot of people don't want to admit it, but it's simple math, and you can calculate a lot of the things that you want to overcome. So it's like if you in order to have a plan for your finances, you have to do is you have to add up all of your bills all of your essential bills first. Make sure all of that's paid, and then after that, whatever you have left, that's your spending money, which it should be saving money most of the time, but you should include that into essentials. Having a specific amount that you want to save every month, include that in your essential bills, and then everything that you have after that is your spending money. And so, if after your main expenses are done, you don't have enough to go see an artist, then that's when you know that you don't have the money to go see that person. So you gotta do the math equation, and that works for calories as well. If you're trying to hit a certain weight, and you know that every time you take, I don't really count calories, so I don't know the specifics of it. But if you're supposed to only intake 500 calories, like I said, I don't know, and you're supposed to burn off 255 or 250, then that's gonna be the formula you have to follow if you want to see the results. And of course, you have to exercise as well, but that's part of the burning part. So, but that was one of the ways that I saw one of the parallels that I saw in between finances and food when it comes to people's health and weight loss.
And it makes a lot of sense for you to put these two together for a lot of reasons, Dre, because when it comes to food, there's something called meal prepping,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
meal planning. My youngest sister, we call it a real Martha Stewart, and she does meal prepping and culinary arts and all of that, and she has people to pay her to meal prep for them
Mm-hmm.
because they choose not to take the time to do it for themselves, so they pay somebody to do it for them.
Right.
But it's healthier than the alternative, which would be for a lot of single people. See, for a lot of adults who have children, they end up cooking meals at home under duress because they kind of feel like, okay, I've got to do it because I've got these kids, I've got to feed these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, because of the kind of meals we can get from the grocery store now, that you can just pop in the microwave, the kind of meals that I would say your grandmother probably made, people are able, if they want to make less of those meals because, your grandmother's generation, great grandmother, they had to actually put food on the stove and cook it in the oven and make the time to actually make those meals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, if we go all the way back to your great grandmother's generation, many of those women were also stay at home moms. So we have so many different dynamics that play into the shifts that have happened as far as food and money and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not ignorant of that. Uh, and I'm not coming for any particular gender because men can cook just as well as women.
Mm-hmm.
But particularly for single people, which at this point, I mean, I'm an empty nester. I fall in that category. It's very easy to find yourself eating out because again, as we said at the beginning of the show, you have to eat. And so if you don't have a plan, you end up going to lunch with your favorite buddy at work. And next thing you know, you've done that 3 of the 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 days, you skip lunch. So the 2 days you skip lunch, now you're ravenous dinner time. So you're definitely going to go out, you're going to grab something at one of your favorite spots for dinner those 2 nights. So already you've eaten out 5 days. And one or two of those days, you grab a bagel on your way to work. So it's easy for people to eat out 5, 7 times during a week or more. And I haven't dealt with the weekend yet
Mm-hmm.
when some people turn up.
And out later with less options, more expensive options.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, this everything has to be planned. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't have plans for your money or for your food, things can get out of hand very quickly. I think that's ultimately what the comparison to both of them are. And I think so. I think when I was originally talking about it, getting into debt is very easy because you can. It's just like swiping a credit card, and like we said, if you don't already have a plan for where your money is coming from, um, a credit card is it's a false sense of how much money that you really have. So you feel that okay, I can afford this just by swiping on the credit card, but not paying attention to the interest of how much you got to pay for it later on. Um, and that leads me to the concept of compound interest. So I think when it comes to food, what we didn't really too much talk about is a healthy habits physically that can also have compound effects, positive compound effects. There's also sugar can have compound negative effects. So the more sugar you have in your body, if you just let it sit there and turn into fats and stuff, then it's very hard to get off. But if you maybe start walking a couple of minutes a day, the positive effects that may have on your life could you have no bounds to it, and it could also lead to other healthier um, habits as well. Because if you walk more, then you get thirsty, and so now you have more opportunities to drink water, and maybe you start to like water more than soda in some cases. So, um, what do you think are some other good positive health things that would have lasting compound effects?
Well, first, I don't want to go past what you were talking about, the importance of moving, because a lot of the people, once they get into my generation, where they're starting to develop white and gray and all that stuff, they stop moving,
Mm,
and they feel like that's okay. And it's mind boggling because some of these people were whole athletes.
mm-hmm.
Now, the the pushback that I would get on that is that it hurts to move.
Yeah.
But if you don't move, it's going to hurt more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you go to the doctor to get something remedied that's stopped working properly, one of the things they're going to do is they're going to put you through physical therapy. And if you don't move like you're supposed to, whatever that limb is, it may not return. It may not return to capacity. And they got these shows uh, with 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 these morbidly obese people. And when I don't know if you ever watched those shows,
Mm-hmm.
and when they get to the point where they're working with the doctor, there's always that time where the doctor tells them that part of their program is to move. And usually he gets a lot of grief on that because some of these people have gotten so big that they can't even walk anymore. But if they don't walk, the consequences are dire because it's hard to burn calories if you're not burning calories. I mean, if this is the only way you burning calories,
Only
even
moving
if
thing.
you reduce how much you're putting on the fork, you need some other activity other than this to burn the calories. It's just like Dre was saying earlier, it's simple math. You're not gonna wipe those calories out if you don't move. So that's like that's a big one. And what's very hurtful, Dre, is that with the advent of super technology, the age of the sedentary lifestyle is getting smaller and smaller
Mm.
because once upon a time people stopped moving in their 30s. Now people stop moving in their 20s. Once they graduate from high school and it's no longer required to go to the gym, to some people that's it. They bang out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was talking to a young lady recently in her 20s, and we were just having a basic conversation. She was one of my clients, and I don't know how I think we were talking about the how great it was outside, and I said, "Well, it's a great day for a walk." And she didn't really respond. I said, "Do you exercise?" "Not really." I said, "Do you not like exercising?" "Not really."
Mm.
So now it's easy to say that, because maybe the metabolism is still high at
Mm-hmm.
this point, or higher than it will be in 15 years.
But you was also you talking about the technology too. Also now have these food services like Uber Eats. So now you don't even get the exercise or walk into your car anymore. You could just order it right to your door. They taking less and less steps. So that's another thing we gotta be careful about. Um, I mean, I think this is a big topic that I mean we could continue to flesh out a little bit more. There were some things that we didn't necessarily get to, but I think it was a good conversation. But we've been trying to keep the time down for the short attention spans. So I was thinking this was a good point to probably stop, and we can revisit this this concept a little bit more, and just when we, because I think these two subjects do go hand in hand. If you want a prosperous life, you know, making sure that your finances are in good health, make sure that your health is good. So I think we can continue this at another time. Along with our music talks and stuff. But I think it's good to switch it up every now and then, and just make sure that we're helping people live their best lives. And we talk about a wide range of things on this channel. So
But look, for some people who may have been working on health goals all year, and the average person is on and off, you know, they start off the year hot and then they drop off and then they get back on and they drop off. Well, it's never too late to gain some consistency. So maybe as we move towards the holiday season, and for a lot of people, in terms of starting to get wayward with the eating, it began last weekend with the candy rush. You
yep.
know, so that's past. The next one is going to be Thanksgiving. So maybe you can have a plan, because I typically have a plan when I go to Thanksgiving dinner. Unlike, you know, when I was 19, my plan was different from what it is now. When I was 19, it was just eat as much as I can,
Many
fall,
plates as
fall
possible.
asleep, wake up, and eat some more. That was the plan.
mm, Many
But
plates as possible.
and so once you, I'm laughing because that was the plan, right? But some people now, you're trying to lose 50 pounds, you're trying to lose 60 pounds, and you may have started this year with a plan to lose 50, 60 pounds, and you've lost 12 pounds. Don't give up. Have a plan for Thanksgiving, have a plan for Christmas. So maybe instead of having two slices of pie and the red velvet cake, just have one slice of pie at dinner and take the red velvet cake home and have the red velvet the next day. Because there's no rule that says that you have to have all three slices at Thanksgiving dinner. There's no rule. Now, maybe in some families, Big Mama wanted you to try everything, but
Gotta say no.
you got to step up and say, hey, I need to do something different for my health. Because for some people, if you eat those three that day, you're gonna be you're gonna be heading to the point of no return. And that happens to people who have disciplined themselves to a point. Once you get those endorphins going with that sugar rush, then next thing you know, you're heading into Christmas, and so you have to have a plan. Like Dre said, you have to have a plan going into Thanksgiving. You know what the spread is going to be like. Plan how many pieces of chicken you're going to eat. Maybe before you would have 5 pieces of chicken, half a turkey, but this year maybe just have a wing, a chicken wing, and a piece of turkey, and a, a reasonable amount of cranberry sauce. Maybe you don't put a half a can of cranberry sauce on your. So have a plan.
And stick to it. That's the because people have a plan and then just completely abort the mission. So stick to your plan in finances and in health. So okay, I think could probably leave it off right there. We made it under an hour. Got to hit most of the the talking points that we wanted to. Um, like I said, we have a lot more to speak on this topic. Anybody who has their what they typically do to stick to a plan, whether it's financial or health wise. Let us know down in the comments. Let us know what else you would like us to, speak about or discuss, and we will do our best to, give you insightful conversation about it. So, thank you all for joining.
There's somebody I want to mention too, Dre.
Hmm.
My good friend Marsha Thaddeson. She has an organization called Yesterday's Kitchen for Today.
Okay.
Marsha Thaddeson, Yesterday's Kitchen for Today. Today, she is she's a health educator, modern day healer. She's helped a lot of people deal with all kinds of ailments and weight loss. She has a whole movement which I'm participating in. I would encourage our listeners to go to her website and check out some of the work she's doing.
Okay. Yeah.
She's
Send me
based here in
send it to me
Georgia,
and I'll
but
put it in the thing.
she's based here in Georgia, but her reach is, really around the country.
Okay. Yeah. Send me her the URL and I'll put it in the description for people
Ooh,
to
oh,
join.
okay.
Okay, everyone. You know the deal. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you guys next time.